Hello and welcome to Unfiltered Eat Better, Think Better series. This is where we get real about our emotions, mindset, connection to food, and healing, and what it really takes to break free and feel good in your body and life again. I'm your host, Janie Shah, and in this series, I sit down with everyday people who face challenges with their health, body, their mind, their confidence, or long held beliefs that have held them back, and found powerful ways to rise and grow through it all. These are real stories, no filters, no fluff, just raw conversations about what they struggled with, what actually happened, and how they created transformation from the inside out. Whether you are on your own journey or just curious on what's possible, you are in the right place. So here's to eating better, thinking better, and living a phenomenal life. Let's go. On today's episode, I'm speaking with Daniele. In fact, and you're going to correct me if I'm wrong
No,
there,
it's
Daniele.
fine.
That's the way, right, Daniela?
That's
Okay. And
perfect.
we met through a mastermind group, I suppose is what you could call it. It's called The Conspiracy, and it's by one of my favorite super coaches, Michael
Mm.
Bungay Daniel. His name is a mouthful, but that group is called The Conspiracy, and that's where we kind of connected. One of the most fascinating parts I find around personal growth is realizing that the way we describe ourselves doesn't always match who we've actually become. And today I'm speaking with Daniele, who has lived through this sort of exact shift. So for years, he's held on to an old identity, telling himself, this is one part that he shared with me, telling himself, for example, he was shy or reserved or stuck in a box. And he started to notice that his body, his actions, and his choices were actually proving otherwise. What I find personally powerful about this story is the moment of that sort of realization, the different moments that you've had where someone has mentioned it to you, or that our bodies often know the truth before our minds catch up to this. And when we start listening to these signals from our body, we can really begin to shed those old self definitions that no longer serve us or where we no longer want to be. So, Daniele, thank you for joining me. And I would love to start with this conversation with a really interesting line that you shared with me. And that line was change is built on identity, not checklists. Can you
Yeah.
tell me a little bit more about this?
Yes. First of all, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm really happy to be here because this is a proof of when you join like-minded people, like a community of like-minded people, you get amazing connections and possibilities that you never thought you could have. So this is to us and also to the conspiracy. This is a great place to be. If no one knows it, please check it out because this is what happens when people that think alike get together and help them, help each other to reach the goals. Anyway, apart from that, so yes, so I just a bit a little bit of background about me as well because I'm a career coach focusing on change. So everything talking about change is my day-to-day life in a way. So that's why when I realized that I wanted to become a coach, I focused on that. And as you mentioned, the identity shift is one of the biggest things that you go through when you become an entrepreneur, like I did and like you are, for example. So when I said change is based on identity, it's exactly these kind of things. You can have all your checklists ready. You can tick all the boxes and do all the tasks that you want, but it will never feel like you're really changing unless you're also shifting with your identity. Because then it's just sort of, I like to actually I forgot to tell, to say that change is not a transformation, a transition is just arranging your room differently. What do I mean with that metaphor? When you're in a transition, you're also changing your identity. You're also changing the way you are, the beliefs you have. You shed, you get rid of all those limiting beliefs you had before, and you have more empowering beliefs that will bring you where you want to go. And that's a transition. Change can be a change of jobs, can be really like as in the metaphor, just changing the disposition of your in your living room. A transition is changing house completely. So when these things happen, when you want to change really and get closer to what you really want to do in your life and get the fulfilling job, cosmetic changes are not enough. So checklists are not enough. you also need to shift in terms of identity, in terms of how you see yourself in the world and how you project your identity onto the world. Because that's also how then you get the opportunities to live a rich life, a fulfilling life. So that's why I always say change starts and goes at the same time with a change of identity and how you see yourself in the world.
Yeah, I love that. And that really resonates with one of the biggest movements around changing habits. And I think you may have heard of James Clear, who's written that book,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Habits. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And he focuses on that exact part that the biggest way to create shift in your actions and your habits is actually working on that core identity and shifting that. Um, Perhaps you can share a little bit actually, because just before we started recording, we were talking about who you were before. And then you did experience burnout and needed to take a break from that. And what sort of identity shift have you found yourself having to undergo from
Mm.
being an events organizer and an employee to now, focusing and working on being a career coach? What was that shift like?
Many identity shifts, many moments when I realized I'm becoming someone else. Also, because at the same time, I changed many aspects of my life. I had plans. So I live in Brussels. I'm from Italy, but I live in Brussels. And for a couple of years, I had the idea that I would move away from Brussels. I would leave and live somewhere else. Then the plan didn't go as I thought. So then I had to transition back into living in Brussels fully, for example. And that was one of the transformations that happened during my transition from being an employee to being an entrepreneur. One of the other transitions was also as you mentioned, I saw myself as a shy person, someone who would not be the center of the stage at a party, someone who will have many friends, but still being uncomfortable being at the center of the stage or having the spotlight on. So
Yeah.
this is the story I always tell. I was following a course, and then one of my colleagues, I was talking with her, and she mentioned something. I don't even remember what it was, but I remember what I told her. Like, well, after all, I'm a shy person. And she looked at me puzzled, and she was like, I wouldn't say that, judging from what you've done in the course, what you've done in class. You always raise your hand asking questions. You're always talking with people. I don't think you're a shy person. And that was one of the moments when I realized, oh, maybe actually my body outgrew my identity and my mind is stuck into what was my old identity. This is one of the millions of transitions. And I realized public speaking, doing this was not something that I would love to do. And now I have no problems in, speaking in public. I did a presentation in front of a bunch of people and I was so chilled that my colleagues were always like, look, it was the same course. They looked at me and they were like, you're not stressed? And I was like, weirdly, I'm not. And I don't know why, because my mind would still think you should be stressed. You're gonna present an important thing in front of clients and it's something serious. Why are you so chilled? And my body was just like, yeah, it's all right. I mean, let's go, let's do this. So many of these things happened in the past 2 years. And when I started this process, I had no idea what I was going through, what I would be going through. So as you mentioned, I've been working as an events organizer for more than 10 years, always in Brussels. I did a bunch of jobs actually, changed from communication agencies to think tanks and so on. But one thing was always constant. I wanted always to help people. Could have been my colleagues, would have been my clients, but that thing was always constant. But I didn't know. I didn't know because it was always in the background. So I never brought it to the spotlight until, as you mentioned, I went into burnout. So that was the moment when I sat down and I decided now I need to ask myself the right questions because I want to have the right answers. So that's when then I reached to a career coach. And then thanks to her, I realized that I wanted to basically do her job, which actually was very funny because it was second or third session in our journey. And then she laughed at me and she was like, okay, well, we still need to follow on and do other things meanwhile, but it's already good that you know where you want to go. So this was sort of a coming back home. I wanted to study psychology when I was 18, and for many reasons I didn't. And then I studied political science and then built up a career that brought me to Brussels and to become an events organizer. But since 2017, I'm always read and consumed a lot of self-help and personal development books or videos and content. And that was just a hobby. That was something that, was on the side until the moment when I asked myself the right questions, which is then what I do now with my clients. I just ask the right questions to get the answers from themselves. Then I realized, oh, actually, that it's something that it's been always in the back of my mind, but it's the one thing that excites me. So I was like, okay, you know what? Let's dive into it. And at the beginning, with my mentor, one of my mentors, I was uncomfortable thinking, oh, you're becoming an entrepreneur. You're gonna be the CEO of yourself, or like of your business, and you have to sell your services in a way.
Mm.
And I've never done that. I've always been an employee. And so how do you do that? Well, you
Yeah.
learn. Well, you don't only learn the techniques and the tips and the tricks, you also learn the identity shift. Who do you want to become? Not only what do you want to do? Which is then, as you mentioned as well, it's something that in the habits is of course, when I was reading James Clear's book, I was like, oh, this is coming back home. Like this is what I felt for, many years of my life. So it's like someone is now saying it in a very beautiful way. It's something that I couldn't, I can't write a book. I'm really good at speaking, but I cannot write a book. But that's another story. Um, when you think who you want to become, anything
Mm.
you want to do becomes easier. If you want to stop smoking, and you frame it and you say language plays a very important role in habits and in general in your identity. When you want to stop smoking, you say, I want to quit smoking. It's already negative. It's already something that you want to do. If you shift it very slightly and say, I want to feel better, and it's positive, and you are, I am someone who doesn't smoke. The shift from doing to being, it's something that seems simple, but helps a lot. And I'm also very conscious of the fact that we're speaking English. So it's kind of easy in this sense because I speak four other languages. So for me, every time I see the difference, in Italian, it's a little bit different when you say some, especially personal development concepts. But in English, it works very well. You do something or you are. It's like
Oh,
when you are wrong, this is something that's I always found very funny in English. You say, oh, you're wrong because you made a mistake. Well, I tend not to use it anymore, and I tend to say you made a mistake and saying instead of saying you're wrong, because being is like a condemnation, like without appeal. You are Janie. You are I don't know how your height, for example, but actually I don't know. I'm 178 centimeters, which is 5 feet 10, I think. I never know the conversion, but this is a fact.
yeah.
But I
And
do things that I might get right or I might get wrong. And if I am something, that's there's no turning back. So if you then switch to I do something to I am, then you can get better. You can eat better if you want. You can become, as I did. I am a swimmer, now I say. I love swimming. I love going to a swimming pool. And I
yeah.
used to,
What would it have been before? What would you have been saying before about swimming?
I want to go to the swimming pool. I
Mm.
should go swimming. I well, when I talk to myself, I talk in most of the times in Italian, but also in other languages. But I would say in Italian something that sounds like I do, I need to, I should, and these kind of things. When I shifted and I said I am a swimmer, then instead of going randomly from time, well, once in a blue moon, I started going 3 times a week, sometimes even every day.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I think you mentioned such an important point on the language. One, the language that we use is super, super powerful. And that's one of the key components that I also teach in rapid transformational therapy. We've learned that the mind listens powerfully to the words that you use, right? It responds to two things,
Absolutely.
the words that you tell yourself or
Yeah,
the pictures that you put in your head. So that's one aspect. The words you use are really, really important. And then the second one that I love that you've shared is the shift from the action statement that I want to go swimming or I wish I could swim to the being statement, which is always an I am. an I am. And an I am statement now starts to reflect your identity. So just like you said, the moment you say, I am a swimmer, you are now identifying as a swimmer, in which case your actions have to follow suit. You have to then actually go swimming in order
Exactly.
to be a swimmer. And it's the same thing when we apply it to any aspect of our life. For example, if someone's trying to be healthier, if you say, "Oh, I am a couch potato. I love to sit and watch TV." Guess what?
Exactly.
That's what who you're going to be. But if you just say, and this is what I did personally for myself, is I am a healthy eater.
Yeah.
Now you identify as a healthy eater, which means, by the way, I'm probably going to make healthier choices
Exactly.
because of that shift. So really paying attention to that, even with smokers. I mean, that's a brilliant example. If you say I
Absolutely.
want to quit smoking, you've already said, well, you've admitted you're a smoker because you're saying I am a smoker and I want to quit. But you
Hmm.
could just change that to an I am statement that
Yes.
I am indifferent or I am healthy and therefore I don't smoke. Shifting
Exactly.
I am is huge.
That's the key thing was it's exactly that. Therefore, I
Mhm.
am something. Therefore, what? What does a healthy person do? What does a swimmer do? What does a couch potato do
Yeah,
at that time? On the negative in that sense. So
yeah.
this shift, which sometimes sounds very simple and many people have talked about, but I lived it in my experience. The moment I shifted from doing to being, then
Mhm.
everything changed. And now it's the same thing. Every day, every week, every month, I'm experiencing something that my body already feels to a certain level, which is a different level, and my mind is trying to catch up because my
Yeah.
body is just, outgrowing all identities at a speed that I'm so surprised when I think about it that I'm like, wait, who am I becoming? The first time I managed to go in this on the same day, I went swimming and to the gym. I was like, I've never done this. What's happening to me? Who am I becoming? And then my answer was, I'm becoming a better person. So
Mm.
kudos to me. And I was just surprised. And then that was the moment when my mind caught up. And then now they're aligned. Now I go
Aligned,
three
yeah.
times a week and I can't wait to go to the swimming pool.
Yeah. I want to touch on this again because you mentioned it a little bit earlier as well when you were talking about your presentation and that your body was feeling so calm, so confident, but your mind was like, what's wrong? Like we haven't prepared enough. What's going on here? And I find that so interesting because everywhere I've come from, it's always usually the other way around, that your mind can dictate how your body feels.
Mm.
And in your situation, it's so cool that your body is actually feeling the upgrade first before your mind. And I'm just curious on how, yeah, how that is for you. And, how do you begin to even notice that your body is feeling something different to your mind?
The easiest has been for me, and I see also with clients because I also help clients in these transitions. The easiest has been always someone holding a mirror. In my case, being a coach is easy. That's my job. But in someone else's case, and in my case, when I didn't have a coach, that was someone close to me who just told me, "Hey, I'm seeing this." Many of my closest friends at some point, they told me, you look better, like more confident. What's going on? Like they were generally, happy about it, but also surprised because they didn't expect it. Like they also some of these friends they didn't see me in a couple of months, so then they saw the change, the transition. But there's one key thing that we can also do ourselves, which is just listening to our body from time to time, just to stay still. Stillness is very important to listen and to understand what's going on in our body and so therefore in our minds. So just some people don't like to say meditate, but okay, if you don't want to meditate, just stand still, stay still, or you can sit, you can stand, you can do whatever, but just have a moment for yourself and listen to what's happening in your body. This is also something that I try to teach to people, for example, when they have what I call the Sunday anxiety before going back to work on Monday, or the end of holiday feeling, like when you dread, oh my God, I need to go back to work. My emails is gonna, my box was gonna explode. Well, that's a signal. That's information. That's data. And the moment we learn how to listen to that, that's the first step to then change something in your life for the better. So
Yeah.
once you listen to it, and then most of the times, I suggest just very simple mindfulness practices to listen to your body, to place your discomfort in your body. Like in my case, for example, if I'm stressed, it always comes on the shoulders. Yeah, they're like super stiff.
Yeah.
So when this happen, I'm like, I stop everything I'm doing and try to listen. Okay, why am I feeling this? Why are my shoulders contracting so much? And try to go 5, 10 minutes asking myself a couple of questions that are like, okay, there's something going on. There's something that I can change. There's something I can act on that might alleviate this. Most of the times, just simple changes can start a sort of like snowball effect to then solving the problem. But even if we don't go at the end of the, let's say, of the valley, of the snowball effect, even just naming it, don't do anything about it. Just know that it's there and notice. That's something that you can also then feel. And that's also the thing that happened to me when I mentioned the presentation in public. So I felt my body was just relaxed. And when people told me, like, you look relaxed, and I was like, yeah, I feel it now. And that was a
Yeah.
mirror of someone external saying, you're cool. Have you done this so many times? And I'm like, I've never done this. And but
Yeah.
still, my body was sending signals of this is safe. On the contrary, there were many other moments when this didn't feel safe in the past, but also other things don't feel safe. And it can be with people that you might not like, even sometimes with clients. It happens, and we never want to talk about it so much, but I'm always very open. There are coaching is a relationship, a partnership that is equal. So a client can say yes to a coach, but also at the same time, a coach can say no to a client because I might not have the skills or the tools to help someone, and we
Yeah.
might just not be a match. And it happened to me that there was something that my mind would say, hey, this could be a good thing. And then there was a little bit of discomfort. So now I know how to, and just like, okay, went to a quiet place, listened to what's going on, and then I realized, oh, okay, yes, this is not comfortable. This is,
Yeah.
maybe I should do something about it. And then I decided not to go on. So
Yeah.
the easiest is someone else to answer your question, someone else who tells you, can be a friend, can be a spouse, for example, or
Right.
a coach in my case.
Yeah. When
So,
oh, sorry, carry on.
oh no, then no, just like summarizing. And then, but if you manage to do it yourself, it's even more empowering.
Yeah. I think for sure. When we can empower ourselves to be able to listen to our body or to our mind, that self-awareness is such a key component in our growth and then being able to really be better every single day. I'm curious though, if someone listening is just starting on this journey, right? How would they even start to listen to their body? Or perhaps maybe a different way of sharing this is, do you remember the first time that you heard a signal from your body? And when did it happen? And how did you actually do that? If you can remember the first time that you were like, oh my gosh, my body's actually telling me XYZ.
I I don't remember exactly what was the year. It was definitely after 2017.
Okay.
So I met someone, and everything seemed perfect on paper. You know, really cool person, very funny. We had a great time for 2 dates, and I was like, okay, this is going somewhere. But then there was something that I could not just pinpoint, and it was just, again, this kind of weird physical feeling. And then I had learned to ask myself in these situations, especially in relationships, a couple of key questions. And one of them was, where are your needs in this relationship? It can be a friendship, can be a love relationship, can be even in your family. But the key question of, are your needs met or are they actually even taken into consideration, which is even more basic, let's say, that's the first start. Not even met, but like taken into consideration. And I immediately managed to, like, I answered myself and I said, no, clearly, even in the first 2 dates, I realized my needs are not even taken into consideration. So it's like, okay, so I don't want to go back into this. It had happened already with someone else that I went on a slippery slope and then it went badly and so on. So I learned the hard way, let's say, to ask myself these kind of questions. And then that was the first moment when I realized my body is already so wise that is sending me signals. I just have to listen and to ask myself the right questions, and the answer will come. And that very powerful question that I learned when I was doing my own journey, I did a lot of self therapy, and then that helped to ask myself this question. That now, every time I ask myself this question in any relationship, I always know how to answer, listening to my body. But it's a crucial thing. Are your needs met, or are they even taken into consideration? And then your body will always tell you if it is a yes or a no. I think that was one of the first times that I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm not that bad. I learned something. Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah. I love that. That gives me chills and it's so powerful because our bodies are really wise. They really, really are wise. And there's so many things we can do to help enhance that message or that feeling. I always find and I always, share this with clients is the first step is that curiosity, is
Yes.
just being able to be curious and notice does something feel cool, off balance, or not right, or what could be going on there. And just be simply curious and kind and compassionate with yourself to
Mm.
listen to what's going on. And then if you're ready to take that first step and then ask yourself the questions and a question can be as simple as just why? Or you can learn these incredible, powerful questions. I love that one. Where are your needs in this relationship? Are your needs met? It's such a beautiful question. I'm gonna add that to my inventory of questions.
You're
But
welcome.
yeah, I think that first step of just applying curiosity, that if you're just starting on this and you're wondering like what do you even mean listen to your body? Like I just want to move and shift. It's just taking a moment of quiet and just being curious and being like, huh, I wonder what's happening. Because I also started to notice this left shoulder of mine. When I feel overwhelmed or I feel like, oh my gosh, I have so much to do and I don't know how I'm going to do it, all of a sudden it just becomes so tight. And then that's my signal to say, okay, take a pause, take a deep breath, go put your feet on the grass and just see where you're overwhelmed and what can you let go of, what is not absolutely important or urgent to do, and then just come back and break it down into small steps. So curiosity is huge in I feel like
Absolutely.
this game.
And don't get me wrong, I know that so many people, because I also was one of them, can be skeptical of these kind of things. Like, oh, listening to your body, what is this new age thing? Okay, I get it. It's something that we are not taught. I mean, definitely not in Italy. Definitely not, I would say, probably in a lot of other Western countries. Maybe not in Asia. I don't know. But from what I know, we're not taught this. We're not taught to understand that actually our minds or our bodies are interconnected. Because that's also why I wanted to go back to what you said earlier. We've always learned that everything that you set your mind on, then your body will follow. And that's also true. I'm not against it, but the two things are true at the same time. There
Yeah.
are things that your body knows before your mind, and there are things that your mind, if your rational mind wants to set yourself a goal and you are on that path, then you'll find ways to then grow your identity and change your body, not change your body in a physical way, but like changing your sensations and feelings to get to that goal. But the two things are not alternatives, they can go together. And just listening, you don't have to go to a retreat in, I don't know, India, Tibet, or something
I
to.
thought you were going to say Bali.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah.
But those kind of places to just listen to what's happening. Because we all know, also in the West, let's say, that stress has a very profound impact on our bodies. The moment we realize that, that is the first time, the first moment, the first step to solve it. But if we neglect it, that we will never know that actually what's happening in our stomach, what's happening in our intestines, why you cannot eat well, like why even if you eat healthy, then you never feel full of energy or you always feel there's something going on. And then you retro sort of like reverse engineer what's happening in your life and then you realize, yeah, because I'm stressed because of work and I'm binge eating because of that and a bunch of other things. So I know it sounds sometimes esoteric, I would say, but it's really not. It's just a matter of a quiet place, a quiet moment, listen to what's happening in your body. It knows before your mind, and then that can help you. Not because you just have to live whatever
Yeah.
your body's telling you, but it's just because you have data, it's information. Then your mind decides what to do with it. And I know people who just still decide, I'm still gonna grind. I'm still gonna work 70 hours a week, even though I went to the hospital and was like this close to burnout. Well, that's up to you. I cannot tell you what to do. I'm a coach, so I'm not going to tell you what to do. But I'm going to tell you what you can do to listen to yourself and have the data. What you do with that data, it's up to you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And as we come to our close, I'm just curious, looking forward, how has this realization that change is about identity rather than checklists, how has that realization shaped the kind of life or career that you are now creating for yourself?
Very profoundly,
Mm.
very, very big changes in how I feel, how I project myself onto the world. And I even see it on, people turn their back like so turn their heads, sorry, when they see me on the street. And that's not because I changed something in my appearance, but it's just because you project a confidence that you didn't have before. So this shift is multifaceted in a way. So the shift from being an employee to an entrepreneur and being, let's say, brave enough to do the step. I don't think I was that brave to just jump from an unfulfilling job towards a fulfilling job. People say that I was, and I'm very happy. Thank you so much. But I think that everybody can do that. It's just I had the good tools to listen, and I had the good guides, like my career coach back then, to do this. The profound shifts in myself, like when I now realize that I'm confident in public speaking, I don't have problems in talking with strangers or selling my services. This is something that I still have to deal with it because again, it's very new and it's very fast, but it's very rewarding and it's bringing me towards closer to the life that I want. So
Mhm.
if your vision is XYZ, what is going to help you to get it? Endless to-do lists, tasks that I used to do at the beginning of my shift. I mean, when I transitioned to a new job, I was still in the same mindset. So I was like, oh, so I need to do this, do that, do that, do that, do another training, follow this thing, and so on. And don't get me wrong, this is very useful, but nothing clicked until I switched as well my identity. Then everything clicked, everything made sense, and then I went even faster and further. At the beginning, it was
Yeah.
just like doing things with my old autopilot, and I felt like a hamster in a hamster wheel, doing a lot of things, but I was not advancing. But because my identity was not there yet, the moment I felt it, skyrocket.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And it's interesting, I was having another very similar conversation around this, is that that vision that you have for yourself is what you really need to have a bit of time to know
Yeah,
and understand, right? Because sometimes
yeah,
you're just in that wheel, you're just doing the full day of work, but we don't ever sit down to really think about what is it that I want out of this life? What is the purpose
yeah,
I have? Or even what is enjoyable in this life, with what you're
yeah,
doing. If you are working 70 hours a week, that's fine. That's fantastic. Are you enjoying it or are you just doing it because you don't know what else to do, right?
yeah.
And I want to take a moment to praise you. And I really think you've got to praise yourself and embrace yourself from moving to something unfulfilling to fulfilling because it is a courageous step. It's a brave step. And it's not the step of moving to doing something fulfilling. It's the courageous step in being able to pause and recognize that, wow, this is not fulfilling and it's
Mm.
unfulfilling. It's the braveness to be able to accept that what I'm doing is not what I want to do.
Yeah.
It's however I landed here, but I'm ready to become the person and shift that identity so that I can have that and achieve that vision that I want, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you broke free from a cage and I'm gonna clap for you because
Thank you.
embrace that. That is not something easy to do. And, I've had to learn that myself when I shifted from a lawyer to now being a coach. And I felt it's like you, right? You feel it in your body. It just
Yeah.
feels like such a natural transition.
Yeah.
And this conversation, by the way, for all those listening, is not about saying, leave your job and go do your own thing. Not at
No.
all. This conversation is about listening to your body, your mind. What are you feeling? What do you enjoy? And then embracing that and letting yourself do that. So you broke free from that cage, and let's help others also do
Yeah.
the same. So Daniela, thank you so much for really sharing this important reminder that growth isn't just about doing new things or adding things to your checklist. It's really about letting go of those old stories that we tell ourselves or those
Yeah.
old identities that we hold on to that no longer align with the future that we want to create and be living. And sometimes all it takes is that pause, right? Like
Yeah.
pausing long enough to notice that, wow, my body's telling me something, my body's already moving forward, even if your mind is still catching up with that. And so, as we close, I'd love to ask you the final question that I always ask all my guests because it's such an intriguing and opening question. And that question is, if healing had a voice, what would it say to you right now?
Trust the process
Wow.
because that's what I need to hear. That's what I need to remind myself as well. Because as first of all, thank you so much for your kind words. And even though from the outside might seem very brave, we all know that even us, we the coaches, sometimes we have our bad days. And sometimes we have our days when you're like, oh, is this really it? Am I really on the good path? You will keep asking yourself this question sometimes when you have a bad day at work, when you have no clients today or no leads or something. But then if you know your why, and I know that I'm quoting Simon Sinek here, but if you know your why, then trust the process. And that's the healing thing that I need to know. And I mean, I know it, but I need to remind myself. And that's also the thing that I use with my clients as well. If you know your why and where you're going, you will find a way, which is something that then we do with a coach. You start by listening to what's happening in your life, in your body in this case. Then you ask yourself the right questions. If you don't know how to ask yourself those questions, reach out. There will be someone who can help you. And then you will find your way. You will find your goal, you will find your way, and you will trust the process in on the way. There will always be failures. We can learn from those failures and we can trust that we're on the good path. And we can trust as well the fact that if we want to change, because we've done it already, we can still do it. I like always to quote this, and I can use it as a closure of this session as well. I like to say, be like water. Take the shape of the recipient you're put in. If you're put in a glass, you're going to take the shape of a glass. If you put in a bottle, you're going to take the shape of a bottle. That means you remain flexible and you still are who you are, but you adapt to the circumstances in a way that then fits you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And then you can expand and flow in the way that fits you in the moment.
Exactly. You can become
Yeah.
an ocean and still
Yeah.
be water.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Well, thank you so much, Daniele.
Thank you.
And if this conversation resonated with you, helped you, or made you feel seen, please be sure to hit subscribe so that you never miss an episode. And come join our free Facebook community, Eat Better, Think Better. It's where these conversations continue and where you'll find real people who are walking the same path. And if you're ready to go deeper in your own journey, whether it's healing your relationship with food, shifting your mindset, or breaking free from beliefs that are holding you back, you'll find more support, resources, and ways to work with me at www.eatbetterthinkbetter.com. So until next time, here's to eating better, thinking better, and living a phenomenal life. Let's go.